A lot of people run for president or other political offices just as a publicity stunt, knowing very well that they have no chance of actually winning, nor do they want to win. They're just doing it for fun to make a spectacle out of the news. It's a form of performance art. Vermin Supreme is probably one of the funniest examples of this. He's that guy with the boot on his head, and his platform is always something about getting kids to brush their teeth, and everybody gets a free pony. He even got into the debate once, I think, when he was running for mayor of New York, and it was hilarious.
An opening 2 minutes to Mr. Vermin Supreme.
Thank you. Gingivitis has been eroding the gum line of this great nation long enough and must be stopped. For too long, this country has been suffering a great moral and oral decay, in spirit and in incisors. A country's future depends on its ability to bite back. We can no longer be a nation indentured. Our very salivation is at stake.
But a strange thing happened when Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez ran for Congress as a joke in 2018 after being put up to it by her brother. She actually won! This put her in a really strange position because she could admit that she was just trolling the Democrat Party by running, or try to stay in character and then give up performing at comedy clubs and going to other auditions and really just see how far she could take the joke as a seated member of Congress. It's amazing that she's gotten so far. Remember when she was campaigning with Bernie Sanders for somebody else running during the midterms, and she's like, "We're gonna flip this seat red in November."
Hello, everybody. I'm so excited to be hopping on here, Senator Sanders' account, and we're here in Kansas City to rally for Brent Welder. We're gonna flip this seat red in November.
Of course, everybody who's passed an 8th grade civics class knows that red is the color of the Republicans and blue is the color for Democrats, but Bernie didn't have the heart to correct her or even ask her to redo the endorsement, so he just posted the video on his Twitter account. AOC's obviously been inspired by other talented actresses who've been able to pull off the ditzy, stereotypical airhead like the great Lucille Ball of I Love Lucy, who was not only a very intelligent woman, but a very intelligent businesswoman as well. Or like Suzanne Summers in Three's Company, both very intelligent women in real life, and like AOC, play very convincing dummies. It looks like she's even taken a little inspiration from Carrot Top 2 in his prop comedy when she wore that Norton antivirus CD as a mask to help stop the coronavirus. Prop comedy is pretty hard and often kind of cheesy, but she was able to pull it off pretty well, I thought. Another great bit that she did is when she referred to the 3 branches of government as the 3 chambers, which is a play off of Harry Potter and the Chamber of Secrets, kind of pretending that, she only reads children's books and, has never read a civics book and doesn't know how the government actually functions.
And if we work our butts off to make sure that we take back all 3 chambers of Congress, all 3 chambers of government, the presidency, the Senate, and the House in 2020, we can't start working in 2020.
Then when she moved to Washington, D.C., she posted that video where she pretended to be scared of a garbage disposal. Like she's been so sheltered her whole life and never had to do any chores or do the dishes or anything like that. So she doesn't know what a garbage disposal even is.
I am told this is a garbage disposal. I've never seen a garbage disposal. I never had one in any place I've ever lived. It is terrifying. I don't know what to use it for or what its purpose is. Like food scraps? Like, is this environmentally sound? I don't know.
I love how she makes a mockery of Congress, like the way that she dances through the halls without a care in the world, like she has no responsibilities whatsoever. Sometimes comedians can't help but laughing right in the middle of their skits, either at themselves or at the other characters, like that time that David Spade lost it during the Chris Farley band down by the river skit. It was just too funny, and it's still a classic today, 25 years later. And AOC couldn't keep it together once during one of her live streams when she was saying that the Republicans are fascists and that it's up to the Democrats to stop us.
I think it's really important for us to kind of talk about the deeper issues about this election, because let's keep it real, right? Like, we need to win in November. November is about in my opinion, stopping fascism in the United States, and that is what Donald Trump represents.
Every great comedian's gonna crack up in the middle of a bit, especially if it's live. And sometimes films will show outtakes from when the actors had a hard time getting through a scene without busting out laughing, and we usually only see the final product. But busting out laughing is a risk that AOC takes because so many of her skits are live and there's no retakes.
I can be upset that I get 10 plastic bags at the grocery store and then have to toss out my plastic bags because the recycling program in the area is tough, and that's okay.
We've been teasing liberals for years that if they're so worried about people emitting carbon dioxide and causing global warming that they should just stop having kids. And so, AOC took that and kind of ran with it.
And so it's basically like there's scientific consensus that the lives of children are going to be very difficult. And it does lead, I think, young people to have a legitimate question. Is it okay to still have children? On this note, I speak to you not as an elected official or public figure, but I speak to you as a human being, a woman whose dreams of motherhood now taste bittersweet because of what I know about our children's future.
I'd say that my favorite Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez prank was warning about cow farts in the Green New Deal. And when it was first released, a lot of people thought that that was just a joke and that those quotes were photoshopped, but they were real. And then it added to the confusion by her later removing that language from the website. And that was really just part of the joke within the joke, because then people weren't sure that it was a joke and thought maybe that it really was photoshopped. And the whole thing was just a total mess.
I think you're referring to some sort of document that some doctored document that somebody other than us has been circulating.
Oh, I thought that came right from her. That was in the background or from her office, is my understanding.
No. She's actually tweeted it out to laugh at it. If you look at her latest tweets, it seems that apparently some Republicans have put it out there. I don't know the details.
Good. Well, then thank you for correcting me. I mean, because it seemed a little ridiculous.
There's so many different layers to her pranks. They're so well thought out. It's really highbrow comedy, and it goes over most people's heads, and she was just sitting back laughing. Another great AOC bit was when she said that the world was going to end in 12 years, and then every few months the timeline gets shorter by a year. Like 3 months later it's 11 years that it's going to end, and a few months later it's down to 10. By the election she's going to be saying that we have only 6 more months to go. And I really admire how she paid homage to Saturday Night Live for Al Franken's Stuart Smalley character, from the 90s, when he would sit and give his self-affirmations by looking in the mirror about how he's good enough and he's smart enough and doggone it, people like me. She did a kind of a spin-off of that when she was interviewed for a Netflix special.
I am knowledgeable enough to do this. I am prepared enough to do this. I am mature enough to do this. I am brave enough to do this.
Unless you were watching Saturday Night Live in the 90s, you really wouldn't get that joke. But for people my age, it was hilarious. Great comedians push the boundaries, and her deciding to openly embrace communism, since the Democrats have been going so far left, I think was really groundbreaking material. Here we have a seated member of Congress openly calling for a communist revolution. She's talking about giving people free money if they don't want to work, and then the rest of us are going to pay for their vacations. And instead of the Democrat Party being like, no, that's communism, they said, yeah, that sounds like a good idea. It's tough to do jokes about race these days. It's a sure way to get yourself canceled if you're white. But since she's Latino, she can get away with it. And she's really a trailblazer when it comes to that kind of comedy. Blaming white people for all the problems in the world while she's dating a white guy. And, since the Democrats don't understand satire, it just goes right over their heads.
Do we see largely that it's the global South and communities of color that may be bearing the brunt of the initial havoc from climate change?
Without a doubt.
And in terms of that wealth, the people who are producing climate change, the folks that are responsible for the largest amount of emissions, or communities or corporations, they tend to be predominantly white, correct?
Yes, and every study backs that up.
White people are to blame for global warming, and we're causing all the pollution that the people of color have to breathe. You know, I think it's a genius social commentary on how the left is blaming white people for all the problems in the black community, like, you know, the 75% fatherless homes and the crime and everything else. I think she wants to get called out and get busted, though. She's probably tired of keeping up the act. And, you know, recently she was swearing on the floor of the House.
And there were reporters in the front of the Capitol. And in front of reporters, Representative Yoho called me, and I quote, a
It's almost like she's asking them to kick her out, but they just keep letting her get away with anything. We'll see how long she can keep the gag going, because people are really starting to catch on, but many of them are too embarrassed to admit that they've fallen for it this whole time, so who knows. Another thing that a lot of people find hilarious is my new "Come on, man, Trump 2020 shirt," or on a more serious note, my "Dare to Re-elect Trump" shirt or my "Cops Lives Matter" shirt, all available in a t-shirt, long sleeve, and a hoodie, and a whole bunch of different colors as well. So head on over to markdice.com or click the link in the description below and check them out.